Welcome. I'm Bonita Sussman. I'm honored to serve as president of Kulanu. I want to thank you for attending the Kulanu October 7th commemoration book launch with Marla Brettschneider and myself on the book called 7th of October 2023, Jewish Reflections Across the Globe. I like it. I like seeing all these people from all over the world here. We have members from England, from Israel, from all over the United States. We have someone from Pakistan, around Africa, and the list keeps growing.
Recording in progress.
Welcome. And we would like to start this program with an important initiative by Global Jewry. It's an organization of 275 Jewish organizations around the globe in collaboration with the Global Jewish Communications Alliance, a global movement of silence on October 7th. In these challenging times, we believe a unified expression of sorrow and solidarity with the Jewish community is vital. The moment of silence aims to connect and enhance the various commemorative events happening worldwide that day, not replace them. We are confident this collective act will meaningfully complement the activities you have already planned. Please know this initiative is about fostering community among all Jewish people, beginning with our partners at Global Jewry. And as we remember all the suffering that's going on in the Middle East right now and the pain of the Jewish community right now, we would like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. Molly.
Thank you, Bonnie. We also wanted to start the program with a video about Kulanu, since we have many new faces. So Kulanu is an organization that supports isolated, emerging, and returning Jewish communities. So we wanted to share this short film.
Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Oh, Davinu Chai. Oh, Davinu Chai. Oh, Davinu Chai. Oh, Yisrael, Am Yisrael.
We also wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors for donating to make this event possible. The sponsors for today's events are listed here on the screen. Thank you very much for your support, and thank you for everyone for coming out today. And next, I would like to introduce our two authors. So we have Marla Brettschneider and Bonita Nathan Sussman. They put the book together. They're the editors, and I would like to read their bios to you from the hard copy of the book, and then we'll go into the presentation. So Dr. Marla Brettschneider is a professor of political theory at the University of New Hampshire, where she has chaired both the departments of political science and international relations, as well as the feminist studies program. She has published numerous academic articles, more than 15 books, and 5 special editions of academic journals. Brettschneider is an award-winning scholar in the field of Jewish diversity politics and political theory. Her single author work, The Jewish Phenomenon in Sub-Saharan Africa, The Politics of Contradictory Discourse, remains a primary text to introduce the kinds of communities presented in this book from the Global South in the context of theoretical analysis of the complex and multi-layered global power dynamics at work. Brettschneider is the general editor of the Mellon Press Africana Jewish Studies collection. And Bonita Nathan Sussman is the president of an international Jewish organization named Kulanu that supports returning, emerging, and isolated emerging Jewish communities in 33 countries around the globe. She and her husband, Rabbi Gerald Sussman, have traveled extensively to emerging communities in Africa, India, and Latin America. Her photos of her travels have been published and exhibited. Bonita is a graduate of Yeshiva University, Stern College, and has 2 MA degrees from Columbia University and the Jewish Theological Seminary. Bonita serves on the Board of Governors of the New York Board of Rabbis and on the board of Staten Island Hebrew Public Charter School. Benita started the Facebook pages Staten Islanders Against Anti-Semitism.
Coming in and out. Molly,
Yes?
we're having a problem hearing you. I think you froze.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was doing your bio, Benita. So Benita serves as the Board of Governors on the New York Board of Rabbis and on the board of the Staten Island Hebrew Public Charter School. Benita started the Facebook page Staten Islanders Against Anti-Semitism. She has been awarded the Staten Island Advanced Women of Achievement Award, the Staten Island Council of Jewish Organizations Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Holocaust Center of Wagner College High Society Award. Bonita has served as the Rebbitzin of Temple Emmanuel Staten Island for 41 years. So thank you both very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone being here. Already those of you who have joined us, it's such a treat. Already a cross-section like the first book itself, which I dare to say, even though I've been doing some, Jewish diversity politics for decades now, our first book is really, I think, probably the most diverse book in Jewish studies to date. It has a tremendous range of political opinion, of modality, of just different ways of approaching October 7th and its aftermath and our life in this year since. Also, it has tremendous cultural and geographical diversity from all over the world. There's a chunk from the US, but the folks from the US are quite diverse in terms of cultural background and what they do. And there's Israel and Canada and Australia, and then there's also Europe. The 2 European entries are actually from the heads of 2 different Black Jewish organizations of France, and then we have wonderful folks from Pakistan, Indonesia, Nicaragua, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Zimbabwe, Nigeria. It's just really amazing. Kenya and Ethiopia, etc. So it's truly beautiful, and it's great to have you here. We know that it's never easy to find a time that works for everybody. But on this terrible day in which we get to mark together this terrible, terrible year. I am heartened to see all of you. We request, of course, that everyone today participate in the spirit in which the book was prepared, in which we know that it's a very difficult subject. And we ask everybody to engage with respect. If you're feeling antsy or something, instead of lashing out, perhaps you can ask a question of something that is, if something's new or surprising to you. And then, so we'll just talk for a little bit about the book and putting the book together. And then we'll invite those who are contributors to the book, if you want to say a few things, maybe up to 2 minutes or something like that. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers after that. So that'll be the structure for the remaining portion of the event. Thank you. I'm going to pass this off to Bonnie. Oh, I was supposed to say a little bit of history. Sorry. So like many of you, and if you've gotten to read, I know that the book will be more available for purchase and electronically this week. But for any of you who have seen it, some of you have seen it, like many people, I was very active from the day of October 7th as a community leader and a scholar and a just ordinary person, and with people close to me, my Krovim in Israel, and very active, and at the same time being very careful about how I approached anything I was saying publicly, whether it was giving a talk or interviews for the media or even in front of my classes. And I never would have imagined that I would have ended up doing not just one, but 2 books on the subject. I've worked for a while. As many of you know, I've published many books. Most of my books in particular on the situation of African Jewry, have been published with this one small academic press. And they asked me at some point if I would consider pulling together a book. And they said I could have, this is very rare, that I could do it however I wanted. I could have one short book, I can have long books, whatever. So we sent out a call, literally just an email. I'm not very good on social media, some of you know that, but we just sent out a call to people who we thought were leaders in their fields and experiences and communities, who we expected could be really reasonable and respectful in the way they went about making a contribution. And it was extraordinary. What we've ended up doing is we have 2 books. This first book that'll be out, you should be able to get your hands on this week, is we clustered, it's all Jewish contributors, and so Jewish contributors from around the globe. And this second book is not all Jewish contributors. There's Christians and Muslims and Palestinians and Israelis and whatever. That has some more like longer essays, and then some more work on organizational resources. So that was the way the 2 books sort of fell out. And at a certain point, we just had to stop taking contributions and try to get the books out. We faced a lot of tech issues, so some of you know that. Thank you so much for bearing with us, and here we are. Okay, passing it off to Bonnie.
If you are a contributor to this book, please put your yellow hand up so we can call on you to talk. Okay, I see Ruth's hand up. Unmute. Unmute, please.
I don't see my hand up.
I saw it.
Um, No, I mean,
Thank
don't
you
see-
all for,
I don't see the hand up thing.
should I go?
No, it's okay. We called
Go
on
ahead.
you. You're next.
All right, my name is Ruth Nemzoff, and I was a scholar at the Brandeis Women's Studies Research Center. And I run, and I particularly now am focusing on grandparents. And one of the things that happened during this year is I've been getting calls from grandparents saying, oh my God, we love Josh or we love Rachel, but I was not prepared for this. I was not prepared for the anti-Semitism there. And there's a real need for grandparents to be educated about anti-Semitism. But it's also a great opportunity. And I'm hoping, I believe that we as a community, by welcoming the extended families of our couples into our peoplehood, into our synagogues, into our ceremonies, that we will in fact begin to have them as great allies for us. Now, for the younger people, and I wrote this article with Adam Pollock of 18 Doors, Unlocking Jewish, there are several issues. And this I found was also true for the grandparents, that first of all, there was a shock in all the generations. God, suddenly these people here care about Israel. I've never heard them mention Israel. And trying to explain or have them understand our history and why Israel is meaningful. Secondly, the awareness of anti-Semitic tropes. One of the interesting findings was that because of social media, the Jewish inboxes, the inboxes of Jewish people, get more anti-Semitic reports than those of Christian people. And so no wonder they feel differently about it, but also we have been hearing about it for years, maybe even experiencing it. It's been another place where people need support. And finally, we wanted to just be sure to include all those extended family members. And I hope you'll all reach out to them, because they too are hurting. They too don't understand it all. And the hardest thing for them to understand is peoplehood. And that's in part because we became a people before the rules of the game of what a people is changed to become nationalism or things like that. So that's what my article is about.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And Ruth's
you.
piece will be in the second book, which is coming out right after the first one, looking at mixed families, Jewish and non-Jewish families, and this new way that the situation since on October 7th and since has changed the relationships inside mixed families. Thank you, Ruth.
And the name of that book, Marla?
That book, so this is the first one. I don't know if anyone can see it. The first one is 7 October 2023, book 1, and it's Jewish Reflections from Around the Globe. And the second one has also a stark, beautiful cover, and that's October 7, 2023, book 2, and that one's called Perspectives.
Okay, thank you. Where's the raised hands? You don't want me to just call on you. Okay, Deborah.
Deborah, it's so wonderful for you to be here and for you to have contributed. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, I haven't read the book yet. I haven't read other people's contributions. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to share some things that I really felt that were hard to share, that were hard to make heard in the general context in which I and maybe we all live. Some complex feelings of, on the one hand hurt, and on the other hand of thinking about the humanity of everyone who's involved in the conflict, of everyone who's affected by the conflict, and people who are really affected much more than I am even. So to reflect on it also on a spiritual level. It was important to me to be able to it's something I've been doing privately, between myself and my journal. And this was the opportunity to share some of those thoughts, which are already from almost half a year ago. But I think on a basic level, they haven't changed so much.
Can you say a little bit about what you wrote? I think I need to hear some of that. I think because people haven't seen the books, everybody should make a few words about, say a few words about the content of your articles. And if you don't know how to raise your yellow hand, like my husband has, Rabbi Gerald Sussman, you go into the chat thing. I'm not the expert on this. And oh, there should be a way. Oh, reactions or under reactions.
I've seen it before. I've seen that raised hand thing before, and it doesn't seem to be turning up now. So I don't know. I don't know why. That's why I raised my physical hand.
That's okay.
Molly, can you
If you
tell
can't do
people?
it, raise your hand.
That's fine.
Everybody-
I wrote in
Molly
the,
can handle it.
yes, I wrote in the chat, Bonnie, who's been volunteering. So you have a short list there also that's sent directly to you.
I'm trying to remember exactly what I wrote.
Oh, okay.
I took
Debbie did
a
a
couple
beautiful
of
job sharing since October 7th. Many people were able to share drawings and writings are actually from the 7th or from very early on.
I wrote from a perspective of a few months later, then a few months after October 7th. And just the feeling that you know, the feeling that you can't escape both the bad things that are being done to you and the bad things that are happening to other people on your account, you know, and this feeling really that you're trapped in that you're trapped in that situation, that you have to be on your own side, and yet there's also because really this conflict, you know, draws a clean line in a way between, say, us and Gaza, which is just really not very far away, and I mean, really not very far away, and yet the idea that the people on the other side of that line, you know, are also human, are also suffering, are also, and I really don't, I really don't like the whole concept of an innocent victim or a non-combatant, or, you know, who that you can sort of neatly separate who deserves to suffer and who doesn't, you know. But you know, because I mean, I didn't write this, but you know, I've always said, you could, you know, if I get killed, you can write guilty victim on my grave, you know. And, but I think that's kind of the heart of and how somehow the prayers that I say every day, and I pray every day from a traditional Jewish prayer book, and how the actual words of the traditional prayers somehow speak to that.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Deborah did extraordinary work. I've known her for some decades as a colleague and friend, and just really incredible what many of the people who are writing entrusted us with the process of working on their piece and helping developing their pieces, and trusting us with their final products. So Deborah's an excellent example of that.
Isn't it cool to be able to say you know somebody that long? Okay, let's go to Ronnie Ben Aaron. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. I'm Ronnie Ben Aaron. I have the privilege of knowing Bonnie Sussman and her husband, Rabbi Sussman, because they are my rabbis. And I belong to their congregation, and I've known them for over 40 years. And it's a pleasure to be a part of this group. And I'd just like to share a couple of things. Number one, I have to disagree with the previous speaker.
We're not disagreeing now. That's for the chant.
If you
That's
don't
for the
mind, what
chat.
we're going to do, I should have been clear about this. When we're hearing from the speakers in this round, let's let everybody share their piece. And then if we want to do talk between people, we're saving that for the question and answer. So Ronnie,
And
I
the
hope that'll
question,
work.
right.
Okay, that's
And you
that's
have to
fair.
put the, and you
That's
have
fair.
to
Let
put
me
the
let me then.
dialogue, wait, but let me make it even a little clearer. If you have a question, put it in the chat, because we know this is a very touchy issue. And so we don't want, we don't want everybody to come out of here with a sour feeling. So
Okay.
if you have a question,
So let me
please put it in the chat. Just talk about the process of how you put the article together and something you might want to say about your article.
so my piece basically dealt with the question of the two wars that are going on. And this is before the Hezbollah war started. So the two wars I'm speaking of is the physical war between Israel and Hamas, and the ideological war that's taking place in college campuses, both in the United States and in Europe and probably elsewhere. But I'm speaking mostly about the United States because that's where I'm most familiar. So the question of anti-Semitism, and first of all, let me say, I don't believe any of us have the answer to anti-Semitism. Let's accept that anti-Semitism exists and that we have to deal with it as it exists and not be so utopian as to thinking we can eliminate anti-Semitism. So anti-Semitism exists, and therefore, how do we deal with it? And who are the dangerous anti-Semites and who are the inert anti-Semites? Meaning they hate Jews, but there's nothing they can do about it. Those people really don't concern me. The people who concern me are the anti-Semites who have influence, who have the ability to hurt us. And I think we need to focus a lot more attention on that than on uh, boogeymen who, go around saying stupid things about Jews, but are incapable of doing anything about it. I look forward to the question and answer period, and I'll deal with other issues later on. In fact, my article actually in the book actually dealt with that question. But let's move on. Thank you.
Okay, I see Rabbi Sussman. Your hand was up.
Well, um, so I had a kind of a front seat view to the creation of this book and all of the work, months and months of work that went into it, and thought and labor and all of that. And it's really quite remarkable. And the book itself is quite remarkable. In looking at the situation, I also wrote this in the book. And today, with pro-Hamas and Hezbollah demonstrations, I see it even more. That's the surprising thing, that how many people stand up in support of these organizations, because what is their program? And they'll say it, both Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian government, their program is to destroy Israel. And they're not shy about it. There was someone right after, from the very important person in Hamas, I think it was the same week, said, well, we're going to do this again and again and again until Israel is gone. And so, the government of Iran has often talked about, well, only one A-bomb can destroy all of Israel. So you see that their goal is genocide. And the destruction of Israel, and going along with that, the destruction of the Jewish people. So, and yet, so I think that word, that genocide thing, has been misused, and I think that's probably why the realization of that is that some of what Israel has done seems very extreme, because again, fighting from being not committing genocide, but being the victims of genocide. Also, again, something which is, this goes by something which is called eliminationist anti-Semitism, to eliminate the Jewish people. And it's very multifaceted, because, again, we are called colonialists, as if our long connection with the land of Israel, which you'll find in the Torah or on every other page in the Siddur and throughout our history, is treated as if it doesn't exist, kind of wiping out our past. And the present and the future, well, the people who are doing all this would like to destroy that, so that there's no present and therefore no future. So I think it's quite surprising that so many people have joined in supporting this cause. I could understand an anti-Israel cause and so forth, but this is a cause of, it's an eliminationist cause, and that I have trouble with. People in places like New York and other places demonstrating in their thousands. What are they really demonstrating for? I don't know if they're all conscious of it, but I think so. I think a good number are. The elimination of the Jews, and that's something we can't forget, and that's something which we haven't seen in a very long time, and is something which is very extreme. I'm also struck by people who I thought would care about us as a group and as individuals, seem to care much less than I thought. I'm part of a clergy group that we've been meeting every week, really, interfaith clergy group, for close to 30 years. I've been part of it, and after October 7th, nobody from that group even called, as if nothing had happened. So again, I'm proud to be part of this project and to share our thoughts with the people in the group here. Thank you.
Okay, I see some people who didn't raise their hands, but I believe they have submitted. So I'm going to just call on you because that's my prerogative.
Oh, we have a hand.
I believe Carbello had their hands raised.
And Shalva.
And Shava, yes. But that one was, oh, she's giving a thumbs up.
So there's we went with a very few reprinted. We have some other folks who are in the book, since Shava has had her, and I'd love to hear from them, Yasasker and Joe and some other folks. There were so many pieces that were contributed that we were not able to put in these books. And I am very honored that we have Shalva here, who had a couple of really important pieces in the Jerusalem Post early on. And they're not in the book, but we have her here with us. And Shalva, maybe you'd like to share a few words from your writing then and how things have changed for you.
Hi. After the 7th of October, I very early on understood that this wasn't just a war, but it was a gendered war. And within 1 week of Hamas massacre, I posted a statement of condemnation of what Hamas had done to women on the 7th of October. And I put it on my website, which is of the Israel Observatory on Femicide. And after that, I was trying to understand how we can actually document femicide, the killing of women, because the femicide of women in war and the femicide of women in peace are different yet similar. The dividing line between them is very, very thin. By the time January came, who would have thought that that war was going to continue? And I wrote an op-ed for the Jerusalem Post on the killing of women and the rape and murder of women, and saying that we really don't know how many women were actually murdered or raped and murdered. And then there was the question of whether they were murdered as women or whether they were just murdered because they were Jews or Israelis or what have you. And I came to the conclusion that if a woman is raped, she's targeted as a woman, and therefore, and then if afterwards she's murdered, it's considered a femicide. So in 2023, there were altogether 30 women murdered in Israel under normal circumstances. 22 of these were what we call femicides, meaning a woman was murdered because of her gender, because she was a woman. But in addition, it could have been 100, 200 or more women who were murdered by the Hamas because they were women, not just because that they were Israeli or not because they were Jewish. The Hamas didn't seem to discriminate too much between Israeli Jews and even Muslims. And as we know, a few Muslims were taken in as hostages to Gaza. And also, we have the case of a Bedouin man who was traveling in his car with his wife and had 9 children, and they just shot his wife, and she was wearing a hijab, and they didn't seem to discriminate. They didn't seem to care. It was just women at that point. So I wrote a lot about that, and recently I've been invited, quite unusually, I've been invited to, for example, to Paris. I was invited by Muslims to speak about a femicide in Israel and also about the 7th of October. And I was very, very well received. And in addition, last month, I spoke at a large conference in Porto, in Portugal, on the same subject. And people seemed to be sympathetic, despite the terrible antagonism of many groups in the world and many campuses, and despite the extraordinary silence of feminist organizations all over the world who condemned femicide but didn't condemn the targeting of women on the 7th of October.
Thank you, Shalva.
Shalva's
it's my
work on so many subjects, and especially on femicide for decades, has been really leading in the field. And that's amazing. What we ended up doing is in book 2, because certainly what's happened around outside of Israel, around the globe and in the United States is we talk about weaponizing rape in wartime. And many of us mean something very specific about weaponizing the rapes of the mostly Israeli women on the first day of October 7th. But then there's been a huge international outcry of not what we would call not proper response by a lot of organizations. And so in the second book, we have significant portions from the report from the collective group of the Association of Rape Crisis Centers in Israel, so that readers can get for themselves direct information from the Israelis who are studying it. And so, Shalva, thank you so much.
Okay, we'd like to call on Joseph Samuels. Would you like to speak a little bit?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your tremendous efforts of writing this book and making the world known even more. I was born in Baghdad, Iraq, and I'm a Holocaust survivor. I was 10 years old when the Farhud, the Muslim mobs, went into the Jewish homes and businesses, murdered men and women, and gang raped women. And I was able to, finally to write my book, Beyond the Rivers of Babylon. I also translated that this year the book in Arabic to be published in the Arab world, right in Baghdad. Of course, with the event of October 7, ignited the trauma that I faced in Baghdad back when I was 10 years old, and I wrote an article published in the Jerusalem Post. I continued to speak and to talk about there were some good Muslims and bad Muslims. In fact, during the Farhud, or the pogrom that happened in Baghdad, that was 7 years before Israel was born, was some men that stood up and protected the Jewish homes. Some took them home to protect them, and even taken the injured to the doctors. So we face the good and bad Muslims that stand up with the Jews or against us. So we need to recognize and try to cultivate the good people. In fact, I was invited. I met with the Grand Mufti of Indonesia, and students become muftis in Indonesia, and explain the situation. And they are, they never knew about what happened to the Jews in the Arab world. So it's a big concern to us, and I continue to share my thoughts and about what's happening, and be caring, and feeling sad, but we have what you're doing, and we all have to do, is to continue to share and communicate with other people, to try to tell our story, and to encourage the good people to support us. And this is in brief. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And I see that Fremit joined the group, but I'm not sure she wants to speak about her article. Fremit, would you like to talk? Okay. I'm not sure she wants to talk. I'd like to.
We'll just say, Fremit, if you'd like to share anything or have a moment of silence for your family, we're here for that. And if you don't feel like sharing on this event, then please know that we are truly honored to have your piece in this work, and the world needs to know your story. So thank you very much, Fremit.
Marla, thank you for that. I want to tell you something about Fremit. Fremit and I grew up together in Queens. She made Aliyah many years ago. Fremit's story is that her daughter was killed in the Sbarro pizza shop. And which is a tremendous tragedy to her, her family, and the whole Jewish people. She has blogged about this, but the new horror is that her son-in-law was killed in Gaza. And so Fremit wrote a very moving piece about the reactions to the reactions actually to the murder of her son-in-law, and if she wants to speak, she's absolutely welcome. If she doesn't want to speak, I'd like to just I'd just like to call Camilla's Jewish family that you can all see live there. Would you like to unmute and say who you are? Say who you are and where you are.
Okay, Shalom. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So we are from Basham Tov, Enugu, Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You have a
Thank you very
beautiful,
much.
you have a
Yeah.
beautiful family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have submitted to this, and I have a little, I'd like to read just a little bit from the article that I wrote, if I can see. I called it "Who Would Have Thunk It?" And oh, these disturbing times. Who would have thunk that a topic at kiddishes would become what passports you have in case you need to get out of town because things were getting so bad in the USA? Europe didn't even seem much better. Who would have thunk that someone suggested it might be safest in sub-Saharan Africa, where there are newly emerging Jewish communities made up of indigenous Africans? Who would have thunk that I would live to see protests against Israel and Jews on nightly television, consisting sometimes of hundreds of thousands of people around the globe shouting anti-Semitic slurs and insults? Who Who would have thunk that so many Jews in America do not understand that the fight in Israel is a fight for Jewish survival, not only for the state of Israel, but for Jews around the world? Who would have thunk that for some, that doesn't matter? Who can fathom the long-term implications for anti-Semitism by saying the Jews, Israelis, are committing genocide? Who would have thunk that Israeli intelligence, combined with American intelligence and British intelligence and other European intelligence, would miss what was going on behind the scenes with Gaza? My greatest fear is that Hamas may have another nefarious plot within Israel proper to do more of the same. Could there be more organizing, more plots, even more tunnels no one is picking up? Such indignities we endure at this point in our history. Who would have thunk it? And some of these essays, a lot of these essays, the book will be available online as an Amazon ebook. Okay. For some who have Amazon Prime, it's free. And all the books, we're trying to get them as ebooks. The publisher, Edwin Mellon, we are very thrilled with, gave us permission to do this. And so the ebooks are either $9.99 if you don't have Prime. And for most people with Prime, the book is free. The essays span all kinds of political points of views and heart-wrenching testimony from all the corners of the globe.
What
Okay.
about for contributors?
For all the contributors, we're giving you ebooks for free. Okay. Once it gets published, the ebooks are coming for free. The publisher charges $60 a book or $80 a book. And so it's not a normal pricing for people. And
Right, so
so
we're going to
and
definitely make available free ebooks, and if we can work out some kind of pricing in a different way for the hardcover, we're working on that right now. Thanks, Deborah.
Okay. Okay, now it's time for a few question and answers. Molly, has there been any questions in the chat? If you want to put a question, please put it there now because we want to have a little bit discussion and then there'll be closure.
So far, we have one question that's come in from Sharice Smoller. And the question is, how do the writers and others feel about exchanging dangerous prisoners for hostages?
That's a tough question. Who would like to answer that one?
And of course, you'll speak from your own perspective and please speak respectfully. That's a wonderful question, a really tough one.
Marla, can I say something? Guess you said what noon.
Sure, Shep.
My only comment is it's been done already. They did it for that guy Shalit. They exchanged many Palestinian prisoners for him. It's been done.
Thank you. Yes. We just heard from Alana that you're in the air raid shelters right now. I don't know if you feel like saying anything about that.
Where is she?
Alana Shemesh. Alana, if you're not able to right now, thank you for letting us know what's going on right now.
What I would say in response to the previous question is I'm really glad I don't have to answer that question. It's not up to me to decide. Whatever I think about it is not going to be taken into account by anyone in the position to make that decision. So it's not something
let's
that
try. Thank you, Deborah. Let's try and get in both these other two things. From Shula Reinhardt's briefly on genocide, and then let's make sure to hear from some of the folks. Thanks, Anne, asking about folks in Africa and in other countries. So maybe we can fit in two of those before we leave.
Wait, I was going to say, I see Frimit turned on her camera. Are you willing to talk? Say a few things, Frimit, about your article? You would have to unmute your mic.
I think my article speaks for itself, and it said a lot of where we are now, and since I wrote it, things have only gotten worse, so I don't think I can really add to it. The question about releasing murderers, Palestinians with blood on their hands, is one that's very personal, and as someone just said, I'm glad it's not my decision to make. I'll just say that my daughter's murderer is free now and has been since the Shalit deal, and has been inciting to further terrorism since then on many platforms, on television, on radio, from Amman, freely. I'll just say that.
Frimit, your voice and your presence here is so important. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to call Marla? You had three more, and I see Ronnie's hand is up. Let Ronnie talk and then do the other two.
From Africa, but also maybe Shula, something quick.
Who did you call on?
Shula Reinhardt's. Are you still here?
How about that?
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So even though I joined very late, I'm happy to be here because two of my good friends are sitting next to each other, one in Jerusalem and one in Brookline, Debbie Greneman and Ruth Nemzov. That in itself gives me hope, to see people from around the world sitting together. But I just wanted to talk about the word genocide for a minute. I think the word genocide has been used in the media only to describe Israel. Israel is committing genocide, people say. And the word genocide has never been used in discussion of the people who are trying to kill us, Israelis and Jews. I don't know why that is, but I think that really has to be brought out into public discussion because genocide is an intention to kill almost all of the other sides so that they can't reproduce and they can't recreate communities. And that is one of the first principles of Hamas and Hezbollah, is to commit a crime against Israelis and Jews that really makes it impossible for us to go forward. And I don't know why that has not been discussed at all. It's in writing. I don't think we have anything in any political document that says our intention is to, kill all the Arabs. And they have their intention to kill all the Jews. So I think that really has to be straightened out. Genocide was the explicit goal of Hitler, and it's the explicit goal of the terrorist groups.
Thank you.
One other
Sheila.
thing I'd like to say about what's missing from the debate, which is, I want to just talk for 1 second about UNRWA, the United Nations Relief Organization. It is really a criminal factor in the whole problem. It is UNRWA that is keeping the refugees. Their goal should have been, as was the case with displaced persons, to bring them into a transition into the life of a different community, maybe with citizenship or with some other kind of status. And UNRWA, as we know, has a very close relationship in terms of the education and the personnel there. UNRWA is a responsibility of the UN, and it must be dismantled. I hear nobody talking about that. They sometimes say, oh, we found a connection here. But that organization is sustaining, perpetuating refugees who become the people who join these organizations. They live very poor lives.
I'm just calling attention to the time. Shula, thank you very much for that. Bonnie, are you calling on anyone else, or you're wrapping us up? We have a few, closing comments.
Well, I see people still have some comments, and I see that Ilana Shemesh raised her hand, and I also see that Zafar from Pakistan is online, and his article is included in the book. So maybe Zafar, would you like to say a few words?
Shalom Alaikum, everyone. I am his daughter from Pakistan. I'm talking on behalf of my father. And I would like to say something about the hostages and the state of Israel.
Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Devastating. It was so devastating. Can't believe it has been a year and our hostages has still not been released. Thinking of all those who lost loved ones on October 7th, and may their memories be a blessing. May the hostages be released soon and united with their loved ones, and sending thoughts of peace, love, and solidarity to all those affected by hostages situation. And we are always stand with Israel. And right now we are going to gather in our community to light a candle with our community, and we are going to pray with our community. Right here in Pakistan, it's 8 p.m. at night. We are going to gather to pray for the state of Israel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zafar.
Wait 1 second. Is there
From
anybody
Pakistan.
else?
I'm Zafar Yusuf.
Hi, Zafar. You want to say a
yeah.
few words? Can you put on your video? Can you put on your video?
Yeah, ma'am. She is my daughter.
Okay.
The Zafars from Pakistan helped organize a magnificent selection of a series of contributions from many people in their communities that the full document is in book 1, and just Safar's piece that just it has an overlay from the community, that just that part is in the second book. In the first book, which most of you are in, has a beautiful, beautiful spread that they worked so hard to bring together folks from their community. Zafar?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I see we have Balthazar from Cameroon here. I'd like to say hello. And I see we have Avraham Ben Avraham from Nigeria here. And I'd like to say hello. And I see there's Big David Keki from Uganda in the waiting room, so I'm putting him in. And I see, so this is really a worldwide, Kulanu is a worldwide endeavor. And these books that Marla and I put together really documents them. I see there are 2 more hands. Let me just call the 2 hands and then we'll wrap up. Okay, Ronnie, you've been waiting patiently.
Yes, I want to speak about the hostage situation. The answer has already been given with regard to Gilad Shalit, where Israel traded over 1,000 prisoners for 1 Jewish hostage, which makes the death toll in Gaza seem a little lopsided towards the Palestinians, because only 40,000 people have been killed according to Hamas, and that's about 35 to 1, which is not over 1,100 to 1. Secondly, with regard to what Frimit said, if I knew that releasing prisoners in Israel would result in no dead Israelis, I would be okay with it. But the reality is that's not what happens, because you can keep arresting these Palestinian terrorists and then releasing them, and then they kill again, and then releasing them and then kill again. It took over 40 years to get Nasrallah, who killed 240 Americans. So the notion that we can simply exchange terrorists for hostages just isn't feasible. Now, having said that, I agree with those that said they're happy that they're not the ones that have to make that decision, but I think a little bit of grace towards the prime minister, who does have to make those decisions. Some people have to give him a little bit of grace on that.
Hi, I'm on Zoom. Okay, we think it's
Bonnie.
upstairs.
And finally, one last point about this. The idea that releasing our prisoners, all that's necessary to get those hostages home is for Hamas to release them. That will stop the entire escapade in Gaza. It will mean the continued survival of those survivors who are still in Gaza, because as long as they are continuing to hold hostages, they are putting their people at risk. So all that needs to happen is for them to release the hostages, and we can go back to October 6th, 2023. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ronnie. As we close up, I know Bonnie has a few things to say. I want to thank you again.
Wait, we want
all
to do Shep was waiting, and then I'll make my closing remarks.
I just want to reiterate what Shula said about UNRWA, but to make it clear, there's one UN agency that deals with the world's hostages, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and their goal is to get the refugees back to their home country. If that's not possible, settle them where they are or send them to a third country. UNRWA is not that. It's an anti-Israel group. Its goal is solely to get them back to Israel. If not that, then they have to stay in a refugee camp for 1,000 years. I mean, it's specifically designed to be against Israel. They should be under the United Nations High Commissioner and not a separate group. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chef. So before Bonnie closes, I just want to invite you all again. There's a lot of really rich material we're happy to do. So lovely that Kulanu through Bonnie, who did this book with me, invited us through Kulanu to do this first event. And we look forward for folks who are interested in more or want to have a more specific topic, please be in touch, and we're happy to do them in person or more on Zoom internationally, however you'd like to do it. So this is a terrible day that we are marking together. And I really am grateful to be with you all today as we all cope with how we're dealing today. Thank you. Okay, Bonnie.
Okay, so first I want to do my thank yous. First, thank you, Molly Levine, for helping with everything around the books, around the publicity, around gathering this lovely group of people together. Thank you, Marla Brettschneider, for being so wonderful and patient with me. This was my first entry into the world of book publishing at old age, and I've been very honored to work with Marla for this new direction. There are other books that we mentioned that are in the series. African Jews Describe Their Lives, which is currently present on Amazon Prime, on Amazon ebook. If you Google Amazon ebook and just either put our name, Marla Brettschneider or Bonita Sussman, the book should come up. It's an ebook. And what's cool about it is that it's mainly transcriptions. And if you click on the link at the bottom, you can actually watch the transcription, the person talking. So you get to see the face of the persons that are in the book. Okay, so that's an interesting book. The second book that's coming out, Shema, Jewish Voices Across Africa, it will also be put as an ebook. And the third book is called Chronicles. I forget the rest of the name. Part of the series called Africana Jewish Studies, Studies in the Jewish Phenomena of Sub-Saharan Africa. All of these books will eventually be turned into ebooks and available on Amazon. And the reason I say for the ebooks is because Edwin Mellon is an academic publisher and charges real large amounts for the books. I want to thank you for coming to this wonderful event. This year, we gave 33 grants for food for Rosh Hashanah to 33 different groups across the globe. That's what Kulanu does. We support developing Jewish communities around the world. We have a matching gift campaign for Rosh Hashanah. Molly will put the link in the chat, or you can go to the Kulanu website to give, or even the link that we sent you has a link to be able to donate. I want to thank you all for coming, and Kativa Gemar Chatima Tova. May you all be inscribed for a book of life and health and whatever your heart's desires are. And I want to thank all of you for coming. And there will be more Kulanu Zooms. Our Zooms are open to the public. They're international. We've had Zooms on Indonesia. An upcoming one will be on the Jews of Kaifeng in China. We feature different communities, and you're all welcome to come. Thank you. And for those who fast, easy fast. And it's been a privilege to work with all of you, especially the people who submitted to publish your works. Thank you, and shalom lehitraot.
Shalom.
Shalom.
चलो हो गया लेट रहा हो तो हो गया